Bigfoot Collectors Club with Michael and Riley. I know a story of high strangeness or two. Let's do this.
Here we do it, everybody. We launched and I said, here we do it. Yeah. What the hell? It was just like when I was at Steve and I was checking Steve Berg out of the Eldridge Hotel. Check out Ghost Quest, the Eldridge over on YouTube. And as well as Legend Quest, other videos that we did about our trip to Kansas. But Steve Berg was walking out and the one of the women working there went, how's your day? And I went, thanks.
Great.
I didn't even realize it. I don't know. My
big city coastal elite coming in here.
Thanks. So stupid. Hi everybody. Welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is the polyphonic pioneer.
Oh, cool. I like that. It's like I have a pickaxe and a modular synthesizer.
Yeah.
Riley Bray.
Yeah, very good one. Submitted by Firemaster on, there's some missing vowels on there.
Cool.
Over on the BCC Discord, which you can also get on and name Riley if you join the BCC Clubhouse at bcc.supercast.com. I already mentioned the YouTube videos, guys. Go check. If you're not following us on YouTube, just you know, come over. Just do it, please.
You got video episodes. You got these little bonus bits that
I work so
crafts. Yes, he works so hard.
I work so hard editing these videos that
they make me smile when I love when you send me a draft. And I go, oh, this is great.
These ones are very fun. I'm also like, okay, next time we need to make sure we do this. I already chastised Riley for chewing gum behind the camera. I was like, okay, next Ghost Quest, no chomping the gum.
It gives it an air of like, like sort of disconnected teen.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay,
I believe ghosts are attracted to gum because it's made out of ectoplasm.
There you go.
Take it from the man who's got a Ghostbusters poster hanging over his shoulder. Let's bring him in. Indeed. Our guest this week is a comic book writer, twice nominated for Ringo Awards, and the Best of Austin winner for comic creator. Nice. He's also a podcaster that you can hear on the Castle of Horror podcast. Don't put a "the" there if there's not a "the" there. I know this from Bigfoot Collectors Club. The next installment of his comic, Halloween Man, arrives this month. Just in time for the spooky, I believe, right? September? We're in September?
September 30th. So
you got 2 weeks, everybody.
Yeah.
This will be on the 13th. That arrives on the 30th, just in time for the spooky season. So Club Scouts of all timelines, please welcome to the clubhouse, Drew Edwards. Drew.
Oh, howdy.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Happy big Texas howdy.
Oh, howdy. How are you? Welcome to the clubhouse. And you said right before we start rolling, you've been a listener of the show as well. So
yeah, I found y'all through is it called Tooth and Claw? The Animal Attack podcast.
Tooth and Claw, yes.
I found y'all through Tooth and Claw, and I have been a devoted listener ever since because I loves me some high strangeness. It's one of my all-time favorite topics.
I love it.
Anything with Bigfoot in the title, I'm 100% going to check out.
Nice.
As I was saying over email, I actually, because I listened to it out of order, I listened to 10 episodes before I realized that you had been one of my favorite characters on True Blood.
Another Texas star, Steve Newland. Yeah. It's funny when people will go like, wait a minute, you're that guy? You know,
I hadn't seen the show for like 3 or 4 years of us making this podcast, and then finally I was like, I gotta see Michael do this thing, and I was blown away. I was texting him that whole.
It's a truly great, outrageous, over the top Texas accent that only vaguely sounds like his real voice, in my opinion. So
I love it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So Halloween Man, does that involve high strangeness? I mean, with the name like Halloween Man, it's getting a little paranormal, it sounds like.
So Halloween Man, here's my elevator pitch that I give at conventions when people have not heard of it. Halloween Man is best described as the weird adventures of a zombie superhero and his sexy mad scientist girlfriend as they battle everything from steampunk mummy pirates, vegetarian vampires, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Headless Horseman, and also appropriate to my location, various Texas myths and legends.
Right.
So yes, we do indeed deal with high strangeness.
Oh man, I love this. Like and the most recent issue that's coming out is illustrated by Nicholas Scott, right?
Well,
the cover?
What is coming out, which is coming out through Red 5 Comics and distributed by Simon & Schuster, which is crazy and mainstream and blowing my mind.
I know.
Is actually a collection. So when Halloween Man started out, it was a webcomic, and Nicola was one of the original artists on the webcomic. So this is a 25th anniversary omnibus.
Awesome. Okay,
and it
great.
Features all of Nicola's work in this big, beautiful, remastered graphic novel format. And it's also a great jumping on point. If you've never read Halloween Man, this sets up the entire world. You don't have to worry about homework. You can just dive in. And it has a brand new Nicola cover that is gorgeous.
Fantastic.
And I'm stunned that 25 years on that she will still do artwork for me, because certainly she has bigger things on her plate these days.
Yeah. So Nicola is a very talented artist. I know her through friends in the comic book industry. She's fantastic.
She does a bunch of big stuff for DC and maybe even Marvel too, but definitely check out her work. Super cool. And a very nice person as well.
Awesome. Very Australian.
Very Australian, yes. I've never met an Aussie that I didn't like, I'm going to be honest.
They're the Texans of the South Pole.
That's kind of true. They're kind of the Texans of the planet, you know?
So maybe we're the Australians of America is what I should be saying.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You guys are the Australians of... yes, exactly. All right, well, we're going to get into your personal paranormal history and all that fun stuff. But before we do, I thought it would be time to once again check in on our favorite cryptid of all. We've mentioned him already, Mr. Bigfoot, in a now constant recurring, it's not just part of Big Strange Vacation anymore. I'm bringing it into the fold.
This is a permanent segment
now. It's a permanent recurring segment now.
With no copyright issues.
No copyright issues at all.
Nope.
We're just seeing who has seen Bigfoot in the year 2025.
Yeah.
It's time once again for the best segment of all time. Where in the world is Bigfoot? San Diego?
It's getting better.
It's getting better.
Yeah, I like it.
I like the long lead up to it too, Drew.
Yeah.
And Drew's a nice person who didn't make fun of it and say that needs work. You're the first person who says...
I actually, my reaction to that was I was just in San Diego, saw a lot of Chewbacca's, didn't see.
Oh, you were at Comic-Con.
Close.
Of course. How was Comic-Con this year?
It was amazing. Was my first time. I had taken a break from San Diego Comic-Con, so this was my first time back because I have two things that I was there to promote. And there was lots of magical things that happened. I talked to Matt Groening for 10 minutes about the movie Forbidden Planet, and he bought a copy of Halloween Man. Did not realize who he was until someone told me, and then I was like, I really hope you don't get mad that this robot in the comic looks just like Bender. It's an homage. It's not a ripoff, I promise.
It's a nod to the Masters.
Well, I mean, you and Forbidden Planet. I mean, Bender's basically a '50s robot, so it's an homage of an homage. So you're fine. What a cool.
That's great that you didn't realize who you were talking to. It's probably for the better, really.
I don't think I'm anxious. Don't let the cowboy swagger fool you. I am an anxious person by nature. So if I had known that I was talking to Bart Simpson's, dad, basically, I definitely would not have been as cool and just able to wax philosophical about 50s science fiction movies.
Yeah,
Totally.
you just ended up having like an ultimate hipster conversation. That was like, and he probably doesn't get a lot of those anymore in the wild. So you made that's how you sold the book. That's how you sold your comic.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you make a sale, Drew.
Yeah.
All right. Well, still no sign of Bigfoot in San Diego, as our Cub reporter just let us know. However, just this month, or last month, August 2nd, 2025, Bigfoot was spotted in Maine. So I've gone back to the BFRO website for details on this encounter. Now, this took place in Oxford County, in Newry, Maine, which was the nearest town, on Bear River Road. So here we go. Observed. Here's the observer. My husband and I, again, I go right to a southern accent, and it's Maine.
It's a perfect Maine accent.
Think Stephen King.
I know, I did this last time. I'll just read it. My husband and I were driving through and out of Grafton State Park when a large brown biped came out of the woods and ran across the street. The car,
Mayor Quimby.
The car in front of us was closer to it, and it had to brake, so it was clear they saw it too. It was pretty large, all brown, and moving very quickly. One thing of note is the way it carried its arms almost behind it as it ran across, which seemed odd and unhuman-like. I had my husband drive up to the place where we saw the figure to make sure there weren't any people on the side of the road or any parking areas. At the spot where the figure crossed is fully outside of the park. No parking lot, sidewalks, or any place someone could have gone other than directly into the woods, even though not much time passed. Where it crossed ahead and when our car got to the spot, there was nothing in the woods or near the side of the road. And then, of course, we have these other witnesses in the car ahead of them who have not come forward to contact us and didn't stop to talk to these people. No other stories from this witness. They said it's the first in this area, and they'd never seen anything like this before. This was in the middle of the day around 1:20 p.m., forest area right out of the state park, trees on both sides, crossed across the street. The investigation report from our fella at BFRO, Mr. Jeff Shepard, said, I had the opportunity to speak with this witness within days of her sighting. She and her husband are busy professionals who like to get away on weekends to explore outdoor opportunities in Maine. The spirit of adventure brought them to Grafton State Park to unwind, hike, and explore the beauty of nature. Sounds like some like tech bros that like to get out in the woods, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
They stopped at the location of the crossing to see if there was parking area or people around. The only thing they saw was the woods. When asked how tall she thought the creature was, she said it was likely between 8 and 9 feet tall. Even at the distance they were behind the car, she said that the creature leaning forward towered over the Subaru-type vehicle ahead of them. What stood out to the couple was the height, the odd nature of how the creature ran with its long arms behind it. That's kind of a weird. I'm trying to picture like what that.
Yeah, like a little bit of a Naruto run.
Yeah. That would be very fun if Bigfoot started picking up. It's like a few years too late for the Naruto run at Area 51. It's like just getting
just
it.
in time for the weapons arms.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're right. Wow, that's kind of spooky when you think about it that way. The color of the creature was chocolate brown, not black like the local bear population. The speed that it ran at on 2 feet was too fast to be a black bear on 2 legs. It was also too large to be a bear, both in height and body size. I found the witness to be well-spoken and credible. She filed her report on the day of the incident and was hoping the car in front of them that almost hit the creature would also file a report validating what they saw. That's the thing, right? We talk about it on the show all the time. Like, They don't even. This is coming from the people who were the car behind the car that got the best view. And you know those people aren't coming forward and reporting this. We got to get a hold of these people. He said total there are 19 other reports from Oxford County that are not posted publicly but are documented in the BFRO database. But yeah, you know, we got to get this couple. If you are listening to this show on a road trip and you almost hit a Bigfoot in Maine with its arms running behind it, dragging behind it,
Send us an email.
contact us. We want to know what you saw. What do you think, Drew? Bigfoot in Maine?
I mean, I've been to Maine. I've been to Maine on tour with my wife's band. It is a delight. It is super spooky, as you would expect, Stephen King state to be. I did not see either Bigfoot or sewer clowns while I was in Maine. However, I think if I were to see Bigfoot in a non-woodsy mountainous area, Maine would be in, I can see that. Like, that being said, as a card carrying hillbilly, I really dislike the fact that they said well spoken, like that
Yes.
immediately is like, so you just think everybody from rural America is some
just women, this could also be
Yeah.
well, see,
sprinkling
that's
a misogyny here.
It could be classism and misogyny. We don't have to. We don't have to.
Yeah.
So
They so often walk hand in hand.
Yeah, so that kind of made me grind my teeth that I still have, a little bit. But yeah, sure. Bigfoot's in Maine. Bigfoot's everywhere. Bigfoot is all across this great nation of ours, and most importantly, Bigfoot is in our hearts. So I'm saying that this is legit, and I do think that that other come forward. How are we ever going to prove that Bigfoot is a thing if we can't get more people talking? It can't just be weirdos talking about Bigfoot. We need normal,
well-spoken. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Church-going folk should talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah, there you go.
With good jobs and all their teeth.
And fine manners.
Yeah, there's a photo of the area of like the road where it crosses, and it's just lined with trees, So
Okay.
This is very Bigfooty looking territory here. I like it. I like this. I like the specificity. I like the weirdness of it. And I enjoy the mystery of the other car that we don't know who must have gotten a really good look at this thing.
Maybe Bigfoot occasionally just wants a lobster roll and a potato donut. So he's like, Maine,
I think he wants the like butter cups that you dip the lobster leg, the hot butter.
Yeah.
Probably loves that.
I'm
Bigfoot's a
picturing
foodie.
Bigfoot now, trying to angle for that good flight on the Southwest, the good seat on the Southwest flight to Maine. He's like, I gotta get on there and get that exit roll.
He's got to pay the extra $80 to get in like
I'm in
A1
position
through 15.
A10. I'm not gonna get it.
All right.
So stressed out.
When we come back, we are going to get into Drew's personal paranormal history. All right, Drew. So you said that you are super into the paranormal and the unexplained. You love this stuff. What got you into this field?
So knowing I was going to have to answer this question, I have now been thinking about this for several days, and there has been so many odd things that have happened to me in my life that I don't know that I could specifically get it down to one thing, but I'm going to go all the way back to my childhood so we can have a origin of sorts and keep things orderly. So same way I got into comic books was the same way I got into the paranormal, because I was already into monsters. And, the next thing after reading all the comic books that the library had, because my library had these huge hardbound books of like Golden and Silver Age comics that I would just check out.
No
and I
way.
Would yeah. Like my original comic books were all like the things that I really gravitated to was actually like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Silver Age stuff. And to me, they were new, even though this was the 1980s. However, like, the next leap over is I would go over into their folklore section, and they had stuff on werewolves. They had stuff on UFOs. But the thing that I loved the most, because I was like most monster kids, I was also a dinosaur kid. They had a book on Makole Mimbe. And that thing I must have checked out so many times. And finally, my mom, relinquishes, like, well, if, he can't just be constantly borrowing this book from the library. So she got me a bunch of like Time Life books that were about the paranormal. So there was one that was about cryptids, one that was about ghosts, one that was about UFOs, and one that was just specifically lake monsters, even though there was like one that was more general cryptids. And then there was like, this one's Champ and Nessie and so that's
kind of the same thing, just different lake this time, same thing.
Yeah. And I grew lake monsters were really my jam, because I grew up in an area of Texas called Possum Kingdom, which is on a lake. And
around the lake tonight,
exactly,
by my side.
That is the only thing
I'm
that
not
people
gonna
know.
lie. Sorry,
No.
I'm not
blasting the toadies in my brain.
It's okay. Everybody in Texas is exuberantly proud of the toadies. But because of thinking, well, wouldn't it be cool if there was a lake monster here? Of course there was not. But what I was able to do is start looking into local folklore. For example, it turns out that, a few years after I was born, there was, my hometown was the site of a relatively famous UFO abduction. There was Men in Black sightings and everything.
What was this case? What was the case?
Man, so now my notes were on my other computer.
You can paraphrase it. You don't got to get it right. Just
what had happened is like all bad things in my hometown. There was a couple that was making out next to the local power plant. Then there was a strange light over their car. The boyfriend got out to investigate, and fire in the sky style. And a couple days later, he showed back up. He was disoriented. And then a couple days after that, there were some shady government types in black suits that were showing up at the boyfriend's house and telling his mom, you better not be telling anyone about how you were poked and prodded by some space aliens, no sir. And of course, I guess he didn't listen to that, because otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we? But I was able to take my general interest into cryptids and monsters and the paranormal and look back into Texas folklore. Like I started out with my own hometown and what the folklore was around my own hometown. And then I got into broader stuff. I started looking into, Texas monsters like the Benbrook Goat Man or El Muerto or, La Llorona, stuff like that. And I'm probably butchering La Llorona. I have a co-writer on one of my projects who is Mexican and he hates the way I pronounce it. So I apologize. He will inevitably listen to this. So David, I'm sorry. Again,
sorry, David.
Hillbilly.
Keeping him honest, David. It's good.
It sparked a lifelong interest in not just folklore, but specifically the folklore of Texas, because Texas, frankly, is if it isn't the weirdest state in the union, it's in the running. Like Texas is a very unique stew of strange. And I'm not just talking about paranormal. Like there's like specific stuff about the Texas character. Like we are so oddly proud that we are the state that killed JFK. You know, like we are so weirdly proud of Leatherface, who is a fictional serial killer, but people in Texas basically give him real person status. Like there's an oddness about the character of Texans that is both genteel but also very morbid that I find fascinating endlessly.
I found that Riley, you originally from Texas.
I am a technical Texan. Yeah.
I've
That's a
only
good band name.
Yeah. You're a robot in a cowboy hat. I've been to Austin a few times. I love Austin. I've driven through the Panhandle a number of times on my way from LA to Kansas City. And it does feel like out of many of the states that Texas is like one of those, it's like, if you're not from here, you don't get it. You know what I mean? That there's sort of a very shared sense of identity that in Texas that you're either in the club or you're not in the club.
100%. And which is kind of strange because Texas, if you look at the way Texas actually looks, it's basically 5 or 6 different countries, because like where I grew up, you come out of all this flatness and you go down into a valley, and you would think you had left Texas and entered Louisiana. Like it does not look like what you think of Texas looking like. And a lot of Texas is like that because we have this weird level of biodiversity where basically, you know, a bunch of different countries that has a shared culture. Like there is a shared Texas culture, but then there's Texas subcultures, and it's unique.
California is pretty similar. Now that you say that, I think about
it. California is a
it.
big patch of land, you know, and that so like that makes sense, you know. And also, but your weather is better than it's better.
It's better. You know, it's all kind of becoming the same everywhere, though. So we'll see. Get back to
our tacos are better, though.
That is true.
It's true. And you invented the breakfast taco, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah, I just spaced out thinking about Torchy's breakfast tacos in Austin. I was like, oh,
I had not Torchy's, but I did have breakfast tacos just yesterday, and they are, I mean
across the state.
They're good in the airport at Austin. Like even there, you can get a good breakfast taco. It's crazy.
Our gas station tacos are really good. I'm actually surprised. I was expecting some pushback on that. There's supposed to be the Texas-California taco feud.
If you want to get into it about barbecue, I'm from Kansas City, and I will go to the mat defending Kansas City. But
I'll give Texas tacos, and I think California takes burritos, and then we can call it.
I would agree. California's more burrito.
I am weird about barbecue among my people in that I do think that we have amazing barbecue in the state, but I am perfectly willing to admit that other states, because I like tasting the differences that other people bring to it. Yeah, like, you know, I like the like the different regional flavors. So like, you know, Tennessee has good barbecue, Kansas City has good barbecue. It's okay. You know, it's
I'm
okay.
Not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad barbecue down there. I'm just saying if I'm going to go to the mat for a food, it's going to be, you know, I'm from Kansas City, so that's what I fight about. You know, that's what I'm going to go to the mat for. I ultimately
fair
don't
enough.
Really care. So what are some of your favorite figures of folklore or the unexplained in Texas? Like if you're like, ooh, I really love this little story or this little nugget.
My personal all-time favorite, because I'm also a Halloween enthusiast, obvious, is El Muerto, our own headless horseman from Benbolt, Texas.
Oh, cool.
Who, he was a cattle thief that, if you believe this story, he was a cattle thief that had his head chopped off by Confederate soldiers, who then strapped his corpse to his horse and slapped it on the butt and sent it roaming around the Texas Hill Country. And
Wow.
to this day, people still say they see him. And if you see him, you should be concerned, because that is a sign that you soon might die. In Bimbolt, Texas, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have a Headless Horseman festival. And I love everything about it, because it's everyone on the planet thinks they know the Headless Horseman because they know Sleepy Hollow, right? But it's this regional variation that I find extraordinarily just juicy. And I like the fact that it's tied to cowboys, and that it's a horse thief, the Confederacy, like all these the Texas Hill Country, just all these regional things. And it just and not for nothing, reoccurring villain in Halloween Man. So I
love that.
I love the Headless Horseman of Texas. Not a proper cryptid, though, so I guess I would have to say, in terms of cryptids, and this is an incredibly deep cut, I'm going to go with our local hometown hero here in Austin. And I'm going to get a lot of people booing me, because a lot of people consider this fake lore, but I don't care. It's Carpy, the giant fish that allegedly lives in Lady Bird Lake. There's a lot of debate in Texas among Texas cryptid fans that this was started by a radio station. They fished out during the pandemic an 80-pound carp. You can look this up online. 80-pound carp. So yeah, I can believe in Carpy. And as your good friend Steve Berg often says, sometimes hoaxes create real things. I think that's what happens, and I just like the idea that Austin has its own lake monster, and it's not a generic plesiosaur.
Holy
type.
shit, this thing is big.
Yeah.
I'll put it up in the chat so you can check it out, Riley. I'll put this up.
Okay, yeah, send me a link.
If you are scared of
I
fish,
get a load of this carp.
Yeah, get ready for nightmare fuel, because it's a big one. And I love
the
Carpy.
man who's holding it in this photo that I'm looking at looks rocked. Like he is shaken to his core. He is like scared of what he's holding.
He does. Like he has a look of he's questioning it. His
his
reality, his life,
yes,
everything that's brought him to this point.
It's almost as if he gazed into the abyss, and the abyss opened and showed him what reality really was, and he cannot handle it now.
I want that movie. I want the
photo.
Carpy movie where the inside of Carpy's mouth tells you the secrets of the universe. And, I'm manifesting some B movie filmmaker who's listening to this podcast. Make that movie happen. I could write it. I'm good and I'm cheap.
Let's make it happen. I love it.
This is amazing. The guy in the photo's kind of got like a Tim Heidecker kind of vibe.
He does, and
going,
he really looks like he's been crying, but not because he's so proud of his catch, but because he's just learned the music of the spheres, and he can't contain all of that cosmic knowledge.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So it's leaking out of his eyes.
From the belly of the carp.
The thing that I find funniest about the whole Carpy situation is that there are people that are afraid of Carpy, and yet they occasionally find alligators in Lady Bird Lake, which are actually dangerous, which I don't think a carp, no matter how big, I mean, I don't know. That carp's pretty scary, but is it as scary as an alligator?
It said it took him 40 minutes. No, an alligator's scarier, but this carp put up a fight. It took him 40 minutes to get the fish into the net. And he says, and once I had landed it, I needed the assistance of 2 other anglers that were fishing the lake to help weigh and photograph it before returning it to the water. Because once you learn the secrets of the universe, you realize you must preserve them and let others discover them for themselves. So
yeah. Do you think it just locks eyes with you, and then that's when it?
Yes, but the mouth goes
sees into your soul.
Yeah, the mouth opens and then you see into it. Do you want to know what the name of the carp is?
Of course,
Sure.
I want to know that.
Mary
Mary
the carp. Oh, wow.
It looks like a Mary.
Yeah.
87
So now-
pounds. 87 pounds, 3 ounces.
Wow. Oh, I undersold that. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Almost
again,
we could say 90 pounds.
That's a lot
you
of
would
carb.
you would you know, this is what happens when you don't have access to your notes. As I had accurate information down. Now
we don't expect
I'm
you to come on with
freestyling.
memorized.
You're the
carb
guest.
facts.
You're not
good.
supposed to do research.
That's
I'm
what quick Google is.
freestyling
Yeah.
here. It's cryptid freestyle rap.
We're making magic. We're uncovering the fabric of reality here. It's fine.
One giant carp at a time.
Yes, one giant carpet at a time. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Drew. Okay, Drew, I'm going to go down a list of phenomena. If you're open to it, you're going to say, believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit. You got to decide here and now. This is a game that we call bullshit
Or believe it.
I'm so excited.
on your mark, get set. Ghosts,
Believe it.
Bigfoot,
Believe it.
UFOs,
Believe it.
Mothman. We'll come back to that one. Mothman,
Bullshit.
ESP,
Believe it.
Chupacabra,
I'm from Texas. Of course I believe in Chupacabra.
the Abominable Snowman,
Believe it.
Ouija boards,
My wife will be angry at me, but bullshit.
the Loveland Frogman.
I'm terrified of him.
Yeah,
I
if you're
also
scared of that
think-
fish.
but I'm also don't believe in him. So bullshit, you terrifying creature.
Hopkinsville Goblins,
Believe it.
Skunk Ape,
I'm from the South. I believe in skunk apes. It's just
Ha-
redneck Bigfoot.
Hollow Earth,
Bullshit.
the Loch Ness Monster,
I want to believe, but I'm gonna say bullshit.
Crystal Balls,
Believe it.
the Beast of Busco, another giant reptile.
Bullshit.
And I know frogs are amphibians.
Yeah, I was like, fish.
Well, we were talking about the alligator in the water.
Okay.
You know, I'm just saying, like,
Sure.
I know.
I got what you were
frogs are
saying. I got what you were-
amphibians.
I got what you were saying. It's okay.
Listen, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hang out with Napoleon Bonafrog. All right, they're friends. They all hang out in the pond together. All right, everybody, or the sewer. Out of body experiences.
Definitely believe in that.
The Michigan Dog Man.
Believe it.
Tarot cards.
Believe it because I've seen my wife use them correctly. So yeah.
Wendigos.
Believe it.
Life on other planets.
Big believe it. I don't even think
Life.
that should be in question anymore.
Yeah. Life after death.
Not in the traditional sense, but yeah, believe it.
Great. Well done. Very good. I would say more wife talk in this game than we've ever had before. I don't think we've had a player bring up his wife so many times. So we must ask, what's up? What does your wife do? She's into tarot cards and is it Ouija boards?
My wife is the biggest personal paranormal experience of all. My wife is she does tarot. She does, all the sort of witchy things. She considers herself a kitchen witch specifically. So her work is mostly done through food. Although again, she is avid with tarot cards.
So fun.
And she believes that she has prophetic dreams, and the biggest prophetic dreams in her life were revolving this guy.
Really?
We're about to go down a rabbit hole, so stick with me.
Okay.
Great.
Should we pause
So-
now and come back, or should we just
Yeah.
start the rap? Okay. We'll take why don't we just pause here, and we're going to come back
It's
and
a
then we'll
long
go down the
story.
rabbit hole. Okay, great.
All right,
We'll go down
great.
the rabbit hole. Be right back.
Excellent.
Okay, rabbit hole time, everybody. Drew's wife is a kitchen witch. She has prophetic dreams, and she's dreamt about Drew. Let's go.
So let's flashback to Las Vegas, 2008. I am leading a very different life. I am married to a Marilyn Monroe lookalike, a highly paid Marilyn Monroe lookalike named
Whoa.
Jamie. This is going to get important later. Everyone pay attention. Named Jamie. We're going to do, I don't want to give everybody the messy, traumatic version. So, respectfully, she left me for a Dean Martin impersonator named Drew.
Oh my God.
Only in Vegas.
Only in Vegas. This is the best Coen Brothers movie never made. So Christmas, the day after Christmas, I get on a plane. I go back to Texas. I think about, because I previously had lived in Dallas. I was like, you know what? Austin. I've always wanted to live in Austin. My older brother at the time lived in Austin. So I was like, it's a creative city. I've always felt drawn there. I'm going to move to Austin. So that's what I do. I try dating through dating apps for a few months and I hate it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on me. I'm just gonna focus on me. I'm gonna work out a lot. I'm gonna hang out at home. I'm gonna write a lot. It's gonna be a good time for me. And my older brother is like, no. It's St. Patrick's Day. It's your first St. Patrick's Day in Austin. It's in the middle of South by Southwest.
Yeah,
there is a
that's
band
exactly, yeah.
playing at this nightclub called Headhunters. It's right up your greasy rockabilly alley. It is a band called Punk Blues Review. They do punk covers of blues songs. They're from New York, and they have a girl lead singer who looks like Jessica Rabbit. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I go out. My older brother ghosts me. He goes and sees a Minor Threat cover band instead. So I am wearing a shirt that says Al's Grave Digging Service. We dig 'em deeper. And as I'm walking in, I see this girl, beehive hairdo, green satin blouse, black pencil skirt, fishnets, very much my type. I have a type. But I'm like, no. I've sworn off of dating. I am going to avoid this. So I go in. Within a few minutes, I feel tap, 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 tap. And I turn around, and it's the girl. And she says, your shirt's hilarious. And I'm like, oh, thank you. It's not that great. I got it at Hot Topic. It was on clearance. And she laughs, and we talk for 10 minutes. And she's like, well, I should go. I'm needed, up on stage, but here's my card. We should hang out while I'm in town. So she gets up on stage and immediately launches into the first time I heard the blues. And it's like the entire room is just shaking. She has this voice. It just explodes reality around me. And I look down at the business card that she gave me, and it says her phone number, and then it says Jamie. And I'm like, oh my God, and then I'm looking at her and I was like, well, this is love at first sight. I don't care what her first name is. I'm going to call her. So, we had one of those whirlwind romances where we talked on the phone for like 6 hours a day. And as we are talking, she's like, I have a confession to make. And I'm like, okay. And she says, I used to have dreams about you. And the reason why I came up and talked to you at my show is that I've been dreaming about you for years now. And in my dreams, we used to call you Skip. And I'm like, oh man, I hate that. And she's like, why? And it's like, because there was a guy that I used to hate in the Dallas goth scene that used to call me Skip because he thought I was too wholesome and he thought I was too dorky, so he called me Skip. Is like, oh hey Skippy, and she was like, well,
Not
no,
a
we called you Skip.
typical.
Gatekeeping the Dallas goth scene. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, no, we called you Skip because in my dreams you didn't smoke pot when we would be smoking pot together. And I was like, well, I'm straight edge. I don't do drugs. And she's like, oh my God. So she proceeds to tell me this whole long mythology about how she would have these dreams. And initially in the dreams, I was wearing a Count Chocula mask of all things. And because of this, her friend that was her stylist while she was on tour believed I was probably a vampire. I'm not, but you know,
Right.
Well, I'm not.
Maybe you just really like chocolate or breakfast cereals.
Exactly. But eventually, when I took off the mask, you know, it was me circa 2009, 2008, which looks frankly a lot more like Kiefer Sutherland from The Lost Boys. So I kind of get the vampire energy there. But yeah, she's not only, you know, had these dreams about me, but there were all these weird synchronicities with the various with Skip, with Drew, with Jamie, you know, and I've come around to, you know, think, well, I just spent all those years with the wrong Jamie. This is the right Jamie. And it took this confluence of events to get us geographically lined up where we could meet. And, you know, my wife has since, you know, she moved down to Austin. We have a great life together. She started a new band here in Austin, and we now also have an amazing daughter with each other. So
Wow.
You know, that all worked out, but some high strangeness with romance.
Yeah, I mean, most people might run screaming if they're like, I've been dreaming about you. But the fact that she backed it up with those goods, you know, is pretty fun and, you know, interesting for sure. I mean, like, I guess I'm going to stick around.
Well, I mean, it didn't hurt that her band was pretty good, and also like she's really hot. Like,
yeah, smoking hot.
Yeah,
You were smitten. Yeah,
I never believed. I am a cynic by nature, and I never believed in love at first sight until that moment. And even when people would ask me, they're like, "Oh, so this is like a love at first sight type situation." I'd be like, "Don't call it that." You know, like, because I was trying to be punk rock about it, but now I've aged some, and I'm like, yeah, it was love at first sight. Like the moment she opened her mouth and I heard that voice,
punk rock to love with all your heart. That's what
Superman
really
says,
sweet.
Right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I actually just saw that.
So does she still have prophetic dreams like with
Yes.
you? Does she see your guys' future at all? Like, how does that like?
Not long term. Like, you know, there was a lot of pre build up to my deal with what I'm currently doing with Red 5 Comics and Simon and Schuster. You know, like she would say stuff like, I feel like, you know, 2025 is going to be a troubled year for the rest of the world, but it's going to be a great year for you. And I'm having these dreams where you are successful, and you know, and she would do things, you know, sort of ritualistic things to kind of help ensure that. Like a big thing, you know, within you know, kitchen witchery is like allspice means financial and creative abundance. So like a few days before going to San Diego Comic-Con, I was eating a lot of stuff, a lot of oatmeal with allspice in it, which, you know, I really like pumpkin spice stuff. So it's fine. But, you know, she's still very much kind of mystical in practice. But I you know, the funny thing is about her family is they're very, you know, they're also very, you know, most of them are Catholic, so all of them have this like witchy side to them, where they all have these prophetic dreams. They all have this like sort of deep like their family is mostly Irish, so there's this like sort of Celtic mysticism about them. But then there's this other side that's very much more traditionally religious, and it's very fascinating to me as an outside observer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I definitely think with especially a lot of those like old world religions, there seems to be a real intersection of what came before infused with the, the latter religion.
Catholicism has a real kind of like witchy, kind of spooky streak.
It's
to it.
very
ritualistic.
ritualistic. I mean, everything I used to know about before meeting my wife, everything I knew about Catholicism came from The Exorcist or old Hammer horror vampire movies. So, which makes it seem super spooky, right?
That's right. Those crosses, gold crosses turning upside down.
They got great robes. They got great incense burners. It's
hats,
just like
awesome hats.
Yeah.
The visual. Yeah. Great hats.
Great hats. Tall.
Great stained glass.
Yes. Cool
columns,
robes.
Archways. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah. It looks spooky. I like it.
Not so much down with the chastity thing though, but
the other, there's
yeah,
other
yeah.
parts,
Yeah,
but I like the incense.
Yeah. Some of the set dressings are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with more Drew. Thank you, everybody. I had to go let Violet out to pee. She's getting old, and she's not holding it as long as she used to.
Oh, buddy, Nova's right there with her. Let me tell
Man.
you. And when he's ready, it's time.
I know. We're getting her annual checkup on Friday, and I'm like, I know. Good thoughts. So, Drew, when you emailed me, one of the things that you mentioned is that you were diagnosed with DID. Yeah. And that it sometimes can, I'm going in very blind here, but replicate the like sense of high strangeness.
Yeah. So first of all, for those who are uninitiated with psychiatric terms, DID is dissociative identity disorder, more commonly known as multiple personality disorder. Everything that I'm going to be talking about, and I have to stress this, anything with neurodivergent, brains, neurodivergent life patterns, things like that, they're very personal because you're talking about someone's brain. So I'm talking about my own experience, how I experience reality. Somebody else, even though they have the same disorder as me, it might look very different to them. I am not a monolith, but I'm going to talk about things as I experience them. And one of the things that, going back to your question, that I've come to really think about in the context of high strangeness is how I kind of, because of the way my brain works, and because I like to say that I'm shared real estate. The way I experience reality is it sounds remarkably similar to like when you hear people who have experienced like a UFO abduction story or encountering a cryptid or encountering a ghost, it doesn't sound like dissimilar to stuff that I myself have experienced. Some of it even as general as, when I was, so I'm going to briefly bum everybody out, and then I promise we'll get back to talking about fun stuff. But I for the longest time when I was younger, because DID is heavily associated with childhood trauma. Most people develop it when they are very young. I am no exception. So when I was a teenager, all I really knew is that I had bad migraines, and I didn't really know why, and I would just have to go lay down. It wasn't until I got into my 20s, and I was unfortunately in a car accident that killed I had a twin. I'm a twin, and because I was under much more close psychological scrutiny because I was almost immediately diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, but there were some things that didn't look like the typical symptoms of that. One of which, when I was with my then girlfriend at the time and my friend, shout out Ivan, were with me at my parents' house. They were telling me like, well, yeah, you took off all your clothes and you ran up the street and then you just kind of collapsed. And, the only thing I knew about that was, I went to sleep, and then the next thing I know, I woke up 2 blocks away from my parents' house with no clothes on. But that could be, that does seem a lot like an alien abduction scenario.
Parallels, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to imply that everybody who experiences this phenomena has DID or post-traumatic stress disorder or anything like that. What I'm saying is I kind of live in that sort of crossroads between the mundane and the magical. And it kind of allows me to put a perspective on that than maybe, and give it a level of empathy that maybe people who are more skeptical and frankly, neurotypical might not. And in fact, I'm not going to take credit for this term, although I wish I could. I recently, another comic book industry friend of mine used the term Neuro-Magical. And I'm like, I want to popularize that because that's really kind of, in one word, explains how I feel about how I experience the world. Now, when I was younger, I used to feel like I was cursed. Like from between 20 to about 30, I was just miserable with having to go through all these dissociative episodes. However, what I've come to realize is my alter is actually my savior. I would not have survived it's a lot. I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life. You don't get this way without it. My alter is my protector. He's my guardian. He keeps my void safe. And, we've come to, really respect each other. And I've come to really appreciate him. Like I would not be having this conversation if my brain hadn't rewired itself in such a way that allowed me to survive all the trauma. And now I've gone very far to field of your original question, but,
this is all great. I mean, this is all answering the question. And my wife, well, she will be my wife, is
congratulations,
getting her doctorate. Thank you, doctorate in clinical psychology, and this echoes some stuff that she has told me. I know very little about this stuff, so I apologize for going in so blindly. But it's really interesting and fascinating that the brain will create that protector in that way,
Well, and he has he is by all accounts much more athletic than I am. And again, some of this stuff sound like I'm very guarded about saying stuff like this. In fact, this is the first time that I've talked about this stuff in something that's being recorded. But because I don't want to project the idea that having what some would call a mental illness. I personally do not think of it that way. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying like, oh, I have, superpowers or something, because it's not like that. And there certainly were times where it was very debilitating and made it hard for me to live a normal life. But I've had people tell me that when I'm dissociating and my alter is up top, he's doing stuff like climbing fences and leaping over cars and doing things that I know physically, my pudgy ass can't do. And, it's just so fascinating to me now that I've developed this much broader appreciation that my brain can allow that off button that maybe would not allow me to do some of those things. It'll click off and, allow this other guy, and I use the term guy broadly, to do those things.
Yeah, it echoes. I mean, it's hard to hear that as a comic book nerd and go, well, there's a lot of parallels in the comic book world as well that we could point to that surely you must have related to as well.
Well, I mean, it's funny. You would think I would be an Incredible Hulk guy because the Hulk is basically arguably the most famous character that has anything approaching to DID, but I've always been more of a Ben Grimm guy. But I
love Ben Grimm.
I do. He's the best superhero. It's just science.
He's the best.
But the characters that I have always been drawn to have been kind of damaged characters, because that is one of the reasons why I do like Ben Grimm. But my favorite characters over on the DC wing of things is the Doom Patrol, and they do have Crazy Jane, who, when Grant Morrison was writing her, was one of the more accurate portrayals of dissociative identity disorder in pop culture. Like there's been some flimsier takes on her since then. Like not everybody approaches it with the same sensitivity or frankly the same desire to do hours and hours and hours of research, which as a writer, look, I get it. Research can be a pain in the ass, but
yeah.
When you are portraying something like this, it can be incredibly hurtful as well. Like I look at something, and I'm not trying to judge anybody who enjoys this movie because there's some great acting in it, but I look at something like Split that portrays somebody with dissociative identity disorder as a serial killer. That's very hurtful to me personally. Like I'd much rather have characters that are superheroes because at least that's a net positive, right? Like superheroes are pro-social, they're civic minded. And even with Halloween Man as a character, there's a lot of he isn't a character like the Hulk where he literally has two physical states of being, but there's a lot of metaphysical and metaphorical stuff going on with the character that go back and relate to living with dissociative identity disorder, because the comic book was really how I coped when I was learning more about myself. And without that comic book, I really don't think I would be here. Like it gave me something to focus and explore myself in a safe way until I got to the point where I could go on a podcast and talk about it publicly.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think too with the comic book stuff, it's just making me think about, you have Clark Kent, you have Superman, you have Bruce Wayne, you have Batman. So even on just that level, you're dealing with the duality of an identity with all of these characters, not even specifically the ones that might, transform physically. Like the Hulk physically transform. I want to go back to that that word, that phrase, Neuro-Magical, and unpack that a little bit more. What does that mean to you, and how does that pertain to some of these experiences that you've had?
Well, through therapy and medication and a lot of work on myself, I have achieved pretty close to a normal life. Like I think, you guys have been talking to me for nearly an hour or maybe over an hour at this point, and I don't think most people talking to me would go, that guy's kooky. That guy's, they might think I'm a little eccentric, and they might think I'm a little,
well, you're from Austin, Drew.
We're keeping it weird, right?
Cool guy from Austin. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of how I have developed a relationship with my alter kind of mirrors paranormal or more appropriately occult practices, like what we've been working
Whoa,
on with my
okay.
what I've been working on with my therapist, shout out Becky, is what they call a co-conscious state. And how I have achieved that most of the time is, first of all, because I am the one that can hold down a job, and I am the one that can pay bills and drive a car and do all the important human things. It's just understood that I need to be the personality that's up top 90% of the time. But that's not fair to my alter, because he has needs too. So what we worked out through internal conversation is that most of the time he can get my dreams. Like I can come up with a scenario, and when I'm going to sleep, I focus on a scenario that will allow him to kind of get his exercise and do what he needs to do and do things that are stimulating to him. And, you know, what we've achieved is a pretty good partnership. Now, I don't know how well that would work with people who have a dissociative system that is like, there's just two of us. So that's
Right.
pretty neat and tidy. Like you hear people that have like upwards of 50 alters, and I don't know that this kind of internal bookkeeping would necessarily work for that, but it works really well for us. That being said, in going back into the sort of ritualistic nature of it, and taking a cue again from you know, some of my wife's interest in ritual, I have what he likes to make his presence known in the physical world, even if he's not going to be in the physical world. So, you know, it's like, well, can I have something? So what we have now is we call it the ritual of the monster hand. And what it means is, even though I technically control both hands, people who know me and people who will pay close attention will always notice that one of my hands has longer fingernails. Well, which hand is the monster hand changes. But so it's not always the right or always the left. Like depending on the week, one could be the monster hand. But almost always one of my hands will have longer fingernails, and that's because that's just a little acknowledgement that, you know, he's there, he's with me, he's always with me. And if need be, he can come up top too. And it's keeping one foot in the physical world, even though, and he does, again, he gets to rule my dream world, which it you know, feels a bit like dream walking from you know, a lot of pagan societies and pagan rituals and things like that.
So listening to the occult nature of what you're talking about in the term monster hand, where does that come from, the term monster?
Well, first of all, monsters are kind of how I understand things. Like from a very early age, I have always been interested in monsters, as we noted. And when my personalities started to splinter when I was young, the thing that came up to protect me was monstrous and inhuman by nature, because and again, I'm not trying to bum everybody out, but as somebody that was undergoing childhood trauma, I needed to summon up something that I did not think could be hurt. And
that makes sense.
Total sense.
But at the same time, this is also why he can't really be in charge of our collective life, because he has the intelligence of an animal. He reacts to things like an animal. And, you know, lots of people have inhuman alters. It's not uncommon at all. You know, lots of people have alters. There's actually the term fictive for people who have alters that are fictional characters as well. In fact, I was in a support group with someone that had an alter that was a comic book character, and you just kind of have to take those things on face value. But tying it back into the whole concept of Neuro-Magical and some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, I think about, you know, when y'all did that episode a while back where you were talking about fictional incursions on real life.
This is what I was just popped in my head too. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, to a degree, having an alter that is functionally a monster kind of feels along those lines as well. But it's rooted in the idea of, I was a child, I was being hurt, And so my subconscious gave me something that was indestructible to protect me from being hurt. And, you know, it was
so
a
much
symbol.
sense.
Yeah. And a lot of occult practices hinge on potent symbols. So it doesn't surprise me when I talk to other people who are, you know, dealing with the same stuff, that often, you know, their altars are things that are extraordinary, because, you know, you kind of have to be extraordinary to get through the ordinary world, because the ordinary world is very cruel.
It's actually very touching to hear that. You know, it's a really kind of beautiful thing. And when you talk about giving your altar dreams and the dream time and sharing that space, how do you, without even necessarily getting into specifics about what the dreams are, what's the ritual like for going into that state and saying, okay, I'm going to bed now and I'm gonna allow my altar to have my dreams? What practice does that appear as physically?
When I started
internally?
doing it, it was really complicated. Like, I actually would write down and like, because I'm a writer, I would write down a scenario and I would try to focus on it. It's become actually really simple, because now I just kind of like counting sheep. I just think, you know, right before I'm going to sleep, I think about something that I know he'll find stimulating, and a scenario that he would find stimulating. And, you know, it just sort of has gotten to the point where it kind of takes care of itself like that. And it helps me, because you know, when I would experience those dreams initially, a lot of people would probably consider them night terrors. And now it's, you know, and I think to a degree, my wife doesn't always sometimes appreciate it, because she's like, you're thrashing around while you're asleep. But, you know, it's still ultimately better, because, again, it allows me to have a career. It allows me to have a family. It allows me to be on podcasts. And, you know, I'm happy. My altar's happy. Sorry.
Is there like a memory and awareness overlap between you and your altar, or is it like a handoff, and like as you come back and forth, like the two sort of remain not contextually aware of each other, or is there a conversation that happens between the two personalities? How does that work? The actual
we can communicate internally now. That took years of therapy. Initially, there was just a complete break. Like, he would take over. It was like I was asleep and I wouldn't remember it at all. And then after years of that, it was sort of like when I would wake up, it would be like you were waking up from a dream. So I would have little bits of it. And now, you know, I don't always remember what he's doing while I'm asleep. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know, but it also, when I was younger, that used to greatly disturb me. And now I'm, you know, so used to it. And because we have a relationship that's mutually beneficial to one another, I'm kind of like, oh, you know, okay, you know, that's cool. And, you know, good. I'm glad you got some exercise. Good for you. You know, because he's animalistic, he doesn't talk in the traditional sense, but because we share a brain, you know, we don't really need, it sounds kind of,
language,
I mean, I guess the whole thing kind of sounds nutty crunchy, but we don't really need words to communicate. It's
sure.
You know,
I get what you're saying.
He can feel when I'm upset. I can feel when he's not feeling good. He can feel when I'm happy. I can feel when he's happy. Excuse me, please, gas. But that's glamorous.
I'm doing it all the time. If you ever see me turn away from the mic, it's because I'm burping. I do it a lot.
There's a whole button for it, just for that very reason.
Yeah, I could have muted.
You're
I'm
not
slow on it. Yeah, but yeah. You know, now, you know, we because we have a very peaceful coexistence. You know, you know, none of that stuff is really an issue. But I have to stress, like, that took me years. And there was also a lot of debate about what we were going to do with the altar in my therapy, because, you know, if you go back several decades, the traditional way they would deal with DID is what they would do, what they call integration therapy, which with the end goal. And they actually did this in an issue of The Incredible Hulk. Shout out Marvel Comics.
Peter David's run, I assume.
Peter David, yeah, Professor Hulk. He was an integrated Hulk of all the different Hulk personalities and Banner. That's not done as much anymore because it's thought to be kind of hurtful to the overall consciousness of the system. Nowadays the general goal is what they call co-consciousness, which is what I have. And the way I usually describe it to people is this sounds creepy, but I assure you that it's not. It's actually pleasant for me. I'm never alone. Like I even when I'm completely by myself, I always have the sense that there's somebody else with me, because in a kind of sense there is. And sometimes, like, I even get the sense of, when someone's looking at you and you can feel it, sometimes I just feel that way. And I get why some people would say that sounds creepy, but I find it comforting, especially as someone that had a twin and lost them. I'm
so sorry.
Well, thank you. I am a veritable army of me. I've come to the point where I quite like my state of being. I know it's not normal, but first of all, I think it makes me a better writer because the way I experience the world is different.
Absolutely, I would say it's would. I mean, you have a different perspective than most people, I would say. And and again, you're saying things like, I feel like I'm never alone. We communicate in a way that's not traditionally through words. Again, these are moments that I go, okay, that would be another empathy moment of empathy between what you're experiencing and perhaps someone who experiences high strangeness would have. That sense of like I wasn't alone, or that sense of I felt like it was communicating with me telepathically. I can see how you can relate in that sense.
Well, the thing is I wish more people would approach stories of high strangeness with empathy. Like I have lots of people that I love, but they are what they would call a staunch realist. Like they just, everything is bullshit. If someone is saying they were abducted by aliens or they saw a lake monster or whatever, they think that there's some sort of ulterior motive. And I'm like, I don't believe, like, even if it's something I don't necessarily believe, I think, well, this person experienced something. The important thing about unexplained phenomenon, like a lot of people get hung up on the wrong word. I think unexplained is really important, and we don't think about that enough because, okay, let's say someone, says they were, abducted by aliens. I don't necessarily believe in alien abductions in the way that people typically think of them. I 100% believe in aliens.
In a literal sense. Yeah.
But I do believe people are experiencing something, and you should approach that with empathy and listen to their story and assume maybe somebody's just experiencing the world a little bit different than you, and treat their trauma as a reality. And, that's really the only way that we'll ultimately end up with, real answers to some of this stuff. But, we live in a world now where I feel like even though we have all of the information at our fingertips so easily, all it's done is made people smug and mean and in a lot of ways ignorant. And, like I know,
and
everybody
destroyed truth in a lot of ways, like now there is no real anymore,
And maybe there never was, but at least we used to have empathy. And, that really bothers me. And it doesn't matter what side of the cultural divide you are on. Like I expect if someone says, hey, I saw this really weird thing, instead of going, you're making that up to get on a podcast, I don't know, TV show, whatever, because people think that you're making.
Aim higher, buddy.
Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah, people think somehow people are making tons of money from this stuff, and the reality is usually, if you say something weird publicly, it actually could be a detriment to you making money. Suddenly, you're the guy that saw the Frogman, you're the guy that saw the Loch Ness monster, and that follows you around for the rest of your life. So maybe,
we run into that over and over and over again. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I mean, you were right to interrupt because I was at the point where I was repeating myself. But, I think that is something that, as somebody that is neurodivergent, I come at it from a different perspective, because when I was younger and I did not understand what was happening to me, I wish that I could have had more people listen to me instead of making me feel like a freak, which I did feel like for years and years and years. And all that did is make me angry, and it made me mean. I was very, very ill-tempered in my 20s, not just because of the loss of my sibling, but because all the stuff, from my childhood back all the way up to that car accident, all this trauma coming to roost and suddenly being much more visible. The haunted house that was my brain suddenly rattling its chains. I wish people, instead of being like, I don't want to be around that guy, he's weird, maybe they could have, had a more open ear. Maybe they could have given me a shoulder to cry on. And, that's, you treat people how you would like to be treated. So,
that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is, isn't it? And I think that all of this too is, these stories of high strangeness and the things. I'm like, my wife, my fiance was asking me today specifically about Bigfoot, and was like, well, what do you think that is? And I go, I don't know. I started pitching the wood geist, like it could be a ghost in the, it could be the woods version of a ghost. And I was kind of losing her. And I was like, I just think that whatever this is, whatever the phenomena is, it's something that is integral and part of the human experience. And one day, hopefully, we will understand that. But in the meantime, we have these stories. We should share these stories. And I think part of the connective tissue that I'm making tonight, talking to you, Drew, is that I've always said, I just love the stories, and some of them are entertaining and some of it is like mind-blowing, but I do think it does help bridge empathy in a way. The more stuff that we can talk about this and not be scared of a stigma, I think does help breed empathy. So,
well, and even if you just think monsters are stories, monsters are never just monsters. Monsters always mean something. And that's probably the core of my life's work. If my life's work, if all my writing means anything, it might be that one thing. Monsters can mean survival. Monsters can mean you're confronting death. Monsters can mean mental illness. Or, maybe monsters are just telling us, hey, don't, stay out of the woods. Human. So, monsters, I think, are important. That's why we keep seeing them. That's why they're one of the oldest things in the human experience. And to the, excuse me, there we go again. To the Bigfoot
Nailed
thing.
it.
Yeah, like a pro. To the Bigfoot thing, I mean, we've been seeing wild men, all the way back to Babylon. So, like, to me,
absolutely.
You look at the history of that, and there's got to be some Bigfoot's real. Come on,
it's gotta be a Bigfoot. Come on. Well, Drew, I can't believe. I mean, this conversation is fascinating, and I really want to thank you for opening up and sharing this part of your life. Certainly, we haven't had a conversation like this on the podcast before, so I thank you. And first of all, when can I get a copy of this Halloween Man book? I will go get it wherever I can find it. And where can everybody else get your work?
So it's very easy. Again, we have distribution by both Diamond Comics, although I'm not the biggest fan of Diamond, or Simon & Schuster, which is the big one as far as distributing books, comics, whatever. So therefore, you can go to your local bookstore, be it a big chain like Barnes & Noble or an indie bookstore, and you can order it there. You can go to any comic book store. You can order it there. You can order it on Amazon. Hell, you can even order this thing at Target. If all you have is a Walmart.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you have a Walmart or a Target, they will order it for you. You can get Halloween Man Volume 1. All you have to say is, I want Halloween Man Volume 1 from Red 5 Comics. And
this guy's in wide distribution, everybody. You don't have an excuse. You can get it.
Yeah.
Love that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like I've gone from the weird punk rock kid who draws skulls on his binder to the sexy prom queen almost overnight. It's kind of
yes.
It's kind of strange.
Nice.
If you found me even vaguely entertaining, I'm on Facebook, but Facebook's for old people. So find me on Instagram. It's Drew_Halloween. It'll be really easy to determine that you found the right one because I'll be the guy posting lots of Halloween Man artwork. There'll be lots of pictures of my gloriously mutton chopped face, and I will also be posting lots of random spooky stuff from what cryptid documentary I've been watching to what rockabilly or punk rock show I've been to this week.
Great.
So,
well, we'll tag you. We'll tag you in all the stuff. So you're going to be very easy to find. Thank you. Thanks, Drew. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening
pleasure.
to the show. And this also makes me want to go back to Austin and then do some cool, fun legend chirping out in Texas. I think would be a blast.
and wrestle a giant fish, right?
Absolutely. I gotta see
I'm just
Mary.
gonna do that either way.
I gotta meet Mary. I gotta gaze in that giant carp mouth and unfold the secrets of the universe. You know.
Tell you what, if you come to Austin, I will make you, because I did design a paranormal tour for Austin once. I will just give you my notes for that. You can go around. You can see cryptids. You can see ghosts. You can spend the day. My gift.
Well,
to
hell
you.
yeah.
Couldn't be
You'll have to
easier.
come along, tag along with us.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Drew Edwards, thank you so much for being here. Look forward
Much
to reading
obliged.
Halloween Man, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the future. Thanks.
I
buddy.
hope so. This was fun.
Huge thanks to Drew Edwards for coming on the show. Fascinating conversation. I want to know more now.
I know. It is truly so interesting, and it's also nice to hear someone talk about it from such a personal level and at such a comfortable place at such a personal level after like really engaging with it and like working through it, and it's fascinating.
Also, a good reminder, just in general, not to get on my like mental health soapbox, but like no matter what you're dealing with, like this is what it's like. This is getting to that place of power and comfortability comes with therapy. You know what I mean? This is, I feel like this is why it's good to talk to somebody if you need to talk to somebody and put in the work and work it out. And eventually you'll get through it. You know what I mean? Or you'll be able to talk about whatever it is. Big deal or not big deal. I don't know. It makes me excited for
Yeah. No,
people.
I find myself thinking too a lot about that idea that I've been into lately about the brain as a receiver of consciousness, like not necessarily, the consciousness is a pervasive force of the universe, and that we sort of tune into it, and it's almost like multi-band radio, like tuned into multiple frequencies that form the self.
It is a fascinating machine.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a defense mechanism. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Super
guy
interesting.
and
I
topic.
can't wait to read Halloween Man. I'm excited. All right. Why don't we just say goodnight right here, Riley? I want to remind everybody, if you want to find us on YouTube. And if you want more, there's more on bcc.supercast.com for ad-free.
So much more.
Oh, so much more. Ad-free episodes, 3 bonus episodes every month, exclusive music from the Polyphonic Pioneer.
There it is.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Remember the first part. You can find the link to all that jazz in our show notes, our Instagram bio. One last thanks to Drew for joining us. Come over to Instagram at Bigfoot Collectors Club. If we don't see you over at the BCC Clubhouse, We will see you next Wednesday for an all-new episode. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Boo-boo.
That's the polyamorous pioneer.
Oh, yeah.
Will y'all come back now?
I mean, I do mean all y'all.
All y'all.
So stupid. Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Riley Bray and Michael McMillan, and engineered and edited by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. For ad-free listening and bonus episodes every month, join BCC Clubhouse on bcc.supercast.com. Want to see us? Watch video episodes and exclusive content on youtube.com/@BigfootCollectorsClub.